Listen, I have an awesome product. I have 100 clients that I onboarded. They're all freemium and nobody wants to upgrade. To me, this means one of two things. Either you are marketing to your wrong clientele or your product is not ready yet to have the value chain equation so that you can show that you're giving more impact than what the customer is invested in. So you need to decide what problem is that.
Spotlight, the customer success soundtrack, brought to you by CS in Focus. From the heart of Canada, this is your host, Emma Lowe. Welcome to our Spotlight podcast. We're here today to welcome our guest, Saher Ghattas, the dynamic country sales director at HubSpot. We're known for scaling tech business from startups to scale-ups. He's a leader in digital transformation with over 25 years experience, passionate about driving growth and leading high-performance teams. Welcome to join our podcast today, Saher.
Emma, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation today, and hopefully it will be value to the audience, both of us learning together.
Before this podcast, we talked a little bit about your experience so far. Do you mind sharing your journey? How do you describe your journey into becoming HubSpot's country sales director as of today?
Sure. Let me just give you a quick background. I started in sales a long time ago, and I started more from the pre-sales engineering perspective. I started in a very small company. It's called Cisco Systems or WebEx. Just kidding. It's a $55 billion company. I started in pre-sales in Canada, and I quickly kind of start expanding and growing to a channel sales manager, and then from a channel sales manager, which really means leading partners, to being an enterprise sales manager, where I had 7 or 8 sales reps report into me. Each rep carry a quota of $1.5 to $2 million, then grow into a sales director, which means you need to transition again in leadership to be second level manager, because now you're managing managers. You're not just managing individual contributors. So I had to learn a lot of things on how to do that. And then from there, I decided, you know what, maybe I just missed the startup world. I want to test and try the startup world. And this is where I decided to leave Cisco Systems Canada and bootstrap. I was part of a co-founding team who bootstrapped a company called Flawless Inbound. It still exists. It's still in operation. I was one of 4 co-founders. I was chief revenue officer at that time. We bootstrapped the company from 4 co-founders in Edmonton, Alberta, became one of the largest HubSpot partner, actually, from an implementation perspective in North America. And then we got acquired by an amazing US company called GSI. The Flawless Inbound team still exists. They report into the GSI team. At that point in time, I was tapped on the back to launch and run HubSpot Canada over the last 2 years. And that's kind of the journey quickly, without boring the audience. But that's what I've been doing for the last, I would say, 20 years.
Wow, that's very impressive. I think in our previous conversation, you also talked about you build the sales and CS team and all the GTM teams in Canada. We a little bit touched base about the GTM alignments. How do you see that coming together?
That's a great question. And I think let me maybe step back, because really it depends on the organization and the maturity model of each and every organization. But I can tell you that there's multiple frameworks on how you can have leaders aligned, right? The basic framework that you would maybe think of is called the flywheel framework, which is you have a sales leader, a marketing leader, and a customer success leader. And each one of them are running their own divisions and organizations. They have their own leading and lagging KPIs. They need to be, meeting on a hopefully weekly or a monthly basis to, discuss how they can work better together. So that's kind of one model. The other model is now kind of the famous model, which is called the bow tie model, where you're actually applying and focusing on impact. How can I drive impact for my customer in each and every stage of how they're engaging with my brand? From the early day of somebody's on my website or chatting with a chatbot, to the point of that they have a deeper sales conversation, to maybe a POC, to maybe a kickoff or onboarding meeting, to expanding and growing inside that customer, to the point of having the customer being an advocate for you and bringing more customers to your organization. So in summary, kind of there's different go-to-market and there's different frameworks of how leaders can engage and work together. I can tell you at the end of the day, it's all about that an organization just need to pick one and commit to that playbook for at least 12 to 18 months to know what works and what doesn't work for them. So I'm not trying to suggest one framework. I'm just saying there are two or three different frameworks the organization would need to evaluate which one is the right one for them, in what stage they are in their growth and maturity curve as an organization as well. At HubSpot, we're using the flywheel framework. If maybe and HubSpot is a $2.5 billion company operation. If you're smaller in operation, maybe you're a Series A, Series B, maybe the bow tie can be that framework for you for the time being. In larger organizations like Cisco Systems and WebEx, we had something called the customer-centric operating system, and that's what we applied. But Cisco was, again, when I left, Cisco was like $55 billion at that time. Cisco Canada was $1 billion of that. But again, it depends on how sophisticated, how mature your leadership team is, and how healthy is your book of business. That's how I think you should pick a framework for your.
Do you see a common challenge among these three frameworks or different size?
Yes, 100%. I think the main common challenges is number one, um, finding the right leaders to actually lead and run those playbooks. Do they understand the why behind it? And are they committed to working together? Uh, and I think those are the two common challenges. So the first one is, do they understand the why behind it? Because if you hire an amazing customer success manager, you need to understand, for example, what's their background. Because even customer success as a division inside of your organization evolved a lot. I
Yes.
will not speak about sales and marketing now. I'll just go deeper into customer success. Think about maybe early 2000. Customer success really to us was customer support. So think about it, like, I have a client. I'm concerned about if they open a ticket with me, I want to resolve it quickly. So first time to resolution was one of the KPIs they get measured on. Customer sat was the other KPI that they're measured on. Average resolution time and all those kind of things. That was the early days of customer success. And then we start tapping into, listen, we need to be more proactive to our customers. So we became not customer support, we became a customer success team. And this is now where you start seeing the leaders have different kind of KPIs, which is net retention dollar, that became very critical to us,
Yes.
and the churn rate. And then we evolve even from customer success to something called a customer experience team. And think about the customer experience team. This is the evolution of customer success. And this is where we are all at right now, where we need to anticipate when would the customer ask us a question or face a challenge. And hopefully, as an organization, we can be more proactive to give them that answer and stay close to them so that we can bring a bigger impact. When you become a customer experience organization, you're more in an interactive journey with the customer versus a reactive or a proactive. And that gives you a signal that you are actually a mature customer experience organization. Your KPIs now that you'll be measured by leadership team are completely different. Of course, customer sat, average resolution tickets are critically important for you. Net retention dollars still important for you, and churn is important. But now there's other KPIs you need to get measured on. One of them is, for example, NPS and eNPS. The second one is the customer lifetime value, because now as a customer experience leader, you're actually carrying a revenue goal and a revenue number. For example, your renewal rate need to be 110%, not a 90% or 80% or 95. You actually will be involved in ensuring that the customer understand the products that you're bringing to the table, and you're helping expand your penetration inside the customer cycle as well. Think about CES, which is the customer effort score, which is the ability for our customers to quickly learn our products and services, or maybe CRR, which is the customer retention ratio. So those are now more, I would say, more of an open level of KPIs that actually help you add more value to your clients and your client journey. And to be honest with you, this is like more focus on the impact that you can bring to your organization versus just maintaining and retaining. So that's kind of the side of customer success that I have seen as organizations have been evolving to during that time. And that plays a bigger role, of course, in revenue retention for them. for companies moving.
You mentioned that about the bow tie method in the earlier stage, talking about driving impact and driving business outcome. How do you measure that? How do you align that across the journey between teams, making sure that we're driving that
Yeah,
same
I love
belief?
that question, and of course, we're all part of the pavilion, and we all are learning the bow tie model right now, especially for Series A and Series B companies. So, I think, like as I said, like in the customer success and customer retention, customer experience, those are the KPIs. Now, let me step back and look at the sales organization and the marketing organization. Because you think about it, the bow tie model, you have first you start with marketing, then you go into onboarding, and hopefully sales, closing deals, and onboarding, and then the customer experience team take on, and then they grow. They land and expand. They grow the book of business on the customer side. So if you think about the marketing first, some of the KPIs you look at from a marketing and impact perspective is your brand. Does the customer know your brand, and how is that affecting them? Are we fixing some of the core problems that we have or not? Even with our free consulting or free products and service or the freemium model, are we bringing impact to them at that stage, even though we're purely marketing, or I would say digital first? Then, as soon as they start getting our freemium or our digital first products where we are not engaging sales at all in this model, are the customers happy and delighted with our kind of phase one of our product and services? And if they are, that will be a signal for us that we're actually, we're adding value to them. Then, as soon as they start enabling new features or using some more of our feature, this is now where our sales team get involved and engaged to help them understand the product and the services. And that will be now the sales side of the organization. How can we bring impact there? Think about it that we need to understand first where the customer wants to go. Why do they even need our products and services? And what's the gap for them to get there? If we can understand that for the customer, that will be very critical for us. And to be honest with you, Emma, that's a big challenge. I'll tell you why. Because it's subjective. So if I'm selling you a widget right now, if I'm selling you a phone right now, let's say a phone, maybe you're more than happy with the old flip phone, which was keypads. That's all what you need. You didn't need to check your email or voicemail or anything like that. You say, you know what? All I need is just call and check on my kids, make sure that the business is running fine, and all is good with that. That's the value that to you. That's all what you need, and that's a huge impact for you. Versus now, if you remember the days of BlackBerry, especially in Canada, now we're able to actually write emails from anywhere we are, and we can able to enable our team and communicate with our customer. And to that, at that point in time, BlackBerry had a huge impact on the enterprise clientele in the Canada and the US. Then you evolve maybe 5 to 10 years later. Now you have a smartphone, uh, Android or iPhone, where you literally can run a whole business from the phone. That's a subjective view on what impact means. And again, I'm just sharing a simple scenario of how product and customer service evolve, but the definition of impact for our clients are very subjective in this journey as well. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is the value exchange. How much value are they getting from us? Our hope is that the value we bring them is much more than what they invested in the platform for. And this is now where you can say, you know what, I'm really bringing a lot of impact for organization. I'll give you a scenario with HubSpot right now. With a free HubSpot license, literally you pay nothing a month. You can power up a website on your HubSpot platform. You can have a full CRM platform. You can have a basic chat bot running on your website. You paid HubSpot nothing, and you actually literally can have your like a model like this up and running. To me, that's a huge value. I want you and me to think 5 or 10 years back. If we're starting a small business, how much will it cost us even to bootstrap a website on WordPress, or maybe have somebody to write a basic piece of code to just if I click on something on a website, I'll get an email notification. Now you can do that without any developer, and it's all free. See, that is the value that you can bring to your clients. And I think with that, HubSpot actually is doing a great job by showcasing that they're bringing more than what the customer invested in, because they focus on the lifetime value and all those kind of things. So if you think about the bow tie model, Each and every stage of your customer engagement, your mission as a leader is to give more than what the customer invests. And if you can continue doing that, you will be a very successful organizations for years to come because the customer will stay with you. They will become an advocate, and then your net dollar retention will really go up, which is one of the critical things that any CFO will be looking at right now, especially with our current asset valuation and our current condition.
Actually, there were like two questions that pop up in my mind. What do you think of the freemium model? How do you encourage your customer to step up the level to be paying customer?
You know what? I mean, it really depends on if you're a SaaS or if you're a professional service consulting or if you are, selling like hardware and support contracts. But I think at the end of the day, if you can figure out this value chain model for your organization, what's your end goal? Is your end goal is all my clients need to be paying clients? That's okay. That's an end goal. So then you need to build your marketing and sales and customer success process to move the customer through that journey. You don't want to keep them on freemium. You want to get them going. But some of the goals of some organization is actually building a moat so that your competition doesn't step into your industry. So they are okay to have some of the book of business stay as free so that that will be a moat so that the competition doesn't step into the industry. And that's still okay because you still can add value by this client. Oh, and by the way, those clients will be a happy advocate for you. You can build a customer advisory board from that group so that they will always advocate for you. And from there, you can actually generate a different kind of book of business. Or you can actually keep that freemium to be always for your MVP, your test and new trials, and all those kind of things. So again, it will depend on your go-to-market strategy. Do you need all the time to have a percentage of freemium because that's where you test, this is how you build customer sat? Or no, we always want to upgrade our clients because we have goals and specific metrics, and eventually the thing will be a thin layer of our book of business, and that's still okay. But I guess at the end of the day, you just need to have a goal to be able to achieve at that point. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
And if
that
it doesn't,
does.
please ask again if I maybe misunderstood your question.
What I heard is from some SaaS company is that they have a huge churn on the freemium segment, and they have a trouble pushing people to being paying customers. So I was thinking, how do we make people realize that there is more, or what's maybe the model's not working, or how to
Got it.
solve that problem?
Honestly, Emma, when you are telling me that, the first there's a red flag that kind of comes in my mind, which means that they are not attracting the right clients yet. They did not yet get the right product market fit. Because if you told me that, hey, listen, I have an awesome product. I have 100 clients that I onboarded. They're all freemium and nobody wants to upgrade. To me, this means one of two things. Either you are marketing to your wrong clientele,
Mhm.
number one, or number two, your product is not ready yet to have the value chain equation so that you can show that you're giving more impact than what the customer is invested in. So you need to decide what problem is that. So I would suggest that you go back and visit your persona and ICP, ideal customer profile, and the persona, and ask your team and ask some of your customers, is that the right clientele for us or not? Because maybe that's not the right clientele. Yeah, you can get 1,000 clients with $0, but that you're not running a non-for-profit business, right? So then you can say, you know what, maybe I need to start marketing in a completely different segment where I will start with freemium then upgrade. Or you can say, you know what? Yes, I'm giving all of this for free, but my product's still lagging 2 or 3 key features. That's why the customer is not ready yet to invest in your product and services, which means your product or engineering team need to be part of the pre-sales process so that they can get tuned in and hear more from your clients of what's really missing so they can go and start building smaller MVPs to get them to where they are. And then at that stage, hopefully, you start having kind of a staircase model so that the customer can start paying. So those are the two things that just came to my mind when you were asking me that question, that is it a product market fit or is it an ICP or persona problem? And those are completely different problems that you can troubleshoot for as a leader.
That's great. I think one other thing was like that came up is how speak to your customers what directly. That's what are they missing, so they can be the
Exactly.
paying customer. And another thing is this weekend talk about churn, analyzing churn. How would you do it?
So usually, I'll tell you how I did it before in multiple organizations, not one. Um, I'll start with exactly, Emma, what you said. Speak to our clients and get closer. But then group specific feature function. We call them cohorts. And then
Yes.
let's say I start signing up some clients in Q1, January, February, and March. Let's say I signed up 10 clients. I can say, listen, last year I noticed clients who are using feature A, B, and C, they stay longer on my platform. And they actually start moving from free to paid customers. So then back to customer success, or if I may say the customer experience team, when they are onboarding, they need to make sure that function A, B, and C are enabled in the next 90 days because we know from data that if the customers are not using them, we lose the stickiness with our platform, which means they will leave or they will stay on the freemium all the time. So that will be the cohort that we need to measure for Q1. Then we start adding another client group in Q2. We need also to measure to say, was feature A, B, and C the right features to enable the client to power up in the first 90 days or not? And as soon as you start breaking down or segmenting your clientele to different cohorts and ensuring that they enable those X number of features in the first 90 days, I feel that will help you reduce churn, again, under the two assumptions that we agreed on before, which is you have the right ICP, you have the right persona, and you already have product market fit. Then you start fixing the churn rate problem by the cohort of clients and what feature function you want to enable in the next 90 days.
I see. So we kind of call back to the team alliance carrying. This is from the CS side. We hear there's lots of sales and CS handoff like alliance, like pre-sale, post-sale. How do you ensure that's run smoothly and we continue selling the same value?
Yeah, a great question. I think if I may put maybe my chief revenue officer hat on, because I have been CRO and maybe 3 times in my life, and I think to do that, you as a leadership team need to step back. And it's hard. What I'm saying, it's hard. It's not easy because you're running a business, and your board of directors need revenue, need goals, need onboarding, needs KPIs. But you have to step back with your leadership team and do those kind of QBRs on a quarterly basis, and of course the annual kickoff and SKOs, sales kickoff, and all this kind of good stuff. But you need to agree on what is the OKRs that you are going to agree on to work together. I'm sure the audience know what OKRs is, which is objectives, key tasks, and results. If every leader map their OKRs with the other leader and with the CEO or the objective of the business, that will be the first point, the foundational point of saying all leaders are agreeing to really work together. So your mission as a customer experience director or a sales director or a marketing director is to, in one slide and one slide only, define your OKRs and then maybe highlight in green how that result will feed into your next leader. So if I'm a marketing director, maybe my OKR is getting to the next 100 clients in 2024 that will start being a paying client with that value. Or making sure that we host 3 workshops that will have a close rate of 20%. That's a result. So now I can see some of those OKRs are feeding into sales. Now the sales OKRs then taking from the marketing OKRs say, okay, out of those, my mission as a sales leader is 2 things. Number 1, to have pipeline coverage of 4x. What does that mean? Meaning, let's say if the quota of my team who is bringing net new business, let's say is $5 million each year, I need to make sure as a sales leader that there's $20 million of pipeline for the whole year so that then I can close the $5 million each year. I'm just giving this. And then from there, I will have maybe a result to my customer experience leader to say, oh, and by the way, I need growth of 20%, meaning out of the $5 million that I close in 2024, I want to upsell that by 10%, so 110%. So that's the other result that you would hand off to the customer experience leader. Customer experience leader would say, my OKR is the $5 million that I received from the sales leader. I want to first ensure that I understand the difference between a kickoff meeting and an onboarding meeting because they're so different. Yeah. So kickoff is like handoff, but onboarding, like really training the client, understanding on the 3 features we agree on that we need to enable for our clients in the first 90 days so that they stay with us. And then I can say my OKR is increase NPS by X%, get a better NPS. Have increased CLT, customer lifetime value, by 20%, let's say. And then maybe start now building those kind of customer efforts scores and maybe customer retention scores as well. So as soon as and by the way, what I'm saying here, it's very complex and it's very hard. That's why it needs at least half a day or a full day for those 3 or 4 leaders to sit together with CEO to really agree that those are the OKRs that they will hand off to each other. As soon as that happens, congratulations. Now you have a foundational leadership team that actually work together. But here is where it's going to break. The follow-up. So that's why you need a quarterly meeting to ensure what's in red, what's in yellow, and what's in green. And then when we decide that this is the thing in red as the 4 leaders, we need to raise our head and say, hey, the 4 of us are accountable for that. This is not an exercise of pointing fingers. It's an exercise of how as leaders we can actually work together to turn this red into yellow and turn the yellow into green. And we will agree on that. So that then when we go to our divisions, we actually can start running the division and orchestrate this. So this is like just a simple, I know I'm not sharing any rocket science, but this is simple foundational common sense. When you're running a mid-size or a larger team, those are the models that you need to go through when you're doing that. But at the end of the day, it's more of, tell me what's the KPI that make you successful? Because I promise you, I will work with you to make you successful, but listen, also here's the KPI that makes me successful. So we need a social contract between each other that we're going to work on ensuring this everything.
Yeah. So I wonder, this is the thing, when we agree on the quota or how much business growth, as this year there's stats coming like 2 to 3 sales reps didn't meet their quota. What do you respond to that? Like, how often do we need to adjust our goal as a leadership team to make that happen?
Very hard. It's a very hard conversation. And let me tackle this first by saying it depends. I know you'd expect I will tell you that, but it depends. Are you a public traded company or not? Because a public traded company, you have more pressure because you already communicated some results to the market and you set expectation to market, and anything you say and do will affect your stock price. So this is a completely different framework than maybe I am a startup or a Series A or a Series B. I have a board of director meeting on a quarterly basis. I need to go back and reset expectation with the board of director, be very transparent and share with them my challenges and tell them, by the way, we need to reset expectation because the market is shifting dramatically. I would say there's commonality between both because, of course, when you also are a public traded company, you have something called the analyst meeting that happens on a quarterly basis. And this is where the CEO and the CFO come and say, by the way, we've noticed some market shift, but here's what we're doing about it to weather against the storm. I would argue that it's actually easier to manage your board of director in a private company like a Series A and B and C versus you're a public traded company. So let me now tackle a scenario where you're a startup, Series A or Series B. You really need your leadership team to know how to deal with the board of directors and how you actually work and collaborate together so that then you have an honest, transparent conversation, and most importantly, a radical candor. So, and it starts with the founders and the CEO of the organization. How are they picking their board of directors? What's the skill set that they need in each and every seat? The investor community. Maybe you have a private equity firm or a VC firm. You as a CEO can say, listen, thank you for this kind of $10 million or $30 million or $100 million Series A. I really want a specialist from your team to be attending our QBRs because the challenge we're facing right now is customer success. Yeah. So now I'm going to bring in my next QBR my customer experience leader because here is the red KPIs. I want you guys to coach them on how they can do better. That is, I'm hoping, that's the relationship that a startup team needs to preset or premeditate their QBR meeting with the board of directors to be exactly like that. It's a coaching moment, it's a collaboration moment, so that we all get better together, which means the customer is happy with our platform. We as a company are hitting our KPIs. You as an investor, you can see that you will get your 10x or 8x ROI in X number of years. That's what I'm hoping. So it actually starts from a board of director meeting, choosing who needs to be on the board, and making sure that you're coming ready with what worked, what didn't work, what I'm doing about it, and you, by the way, I need help. You need to have this ability to raise your hand to say, I'm a CRO. I have been a CRO 3 times of my life. This market condition I'm facing right now, I have never seen in my life. Here's what I'm trying so far. I'm an open book. What am I missing? Where's my blind spots? That's the level of conversation that you need to have with board, right? And as soon as this happens, I think the demeanor and the dynamic, I'm hoping, in the boardroom or in the Zoom meeting will be a little bit different because now everybody's working on solutioning versus pointing fingers as well on the board of directors. Emma, I'm not sure if that answers your question
Yeah,
or not. That's
it
how I
does.
approach models like that, to be honest.
Yeah. You actually had articles talking about the raise of CCO, Chief Customer Officer, and you kind of emphasize the importance of it. Uh, what do you see if this year has happened in 2023? What's your new thought about this role again?
I believe in that 100%. I actually wrote an article on LinkedIn specifically for Canadians and say, hey, boy, is that the time to have a chief customer officer? And what does it mean? And so I'm 100% believer on that. I think customer experience or customer success leaders uh, are one of the big kind of secret weapons for any organization right now, not just the sales leaders and not just the marketing leaders anymore. I think they will be the one that actually can help the organization maneuver those kind of interesting economic conditions that we're passing through in 2024 and beyond. But definitely that is critical for us. And I'll tell you simply why. Because we are in a very noisy environment right now. So the only way for you to succeed, Emma, as you said, is get close to your customer. Ask them, learn from them. Don't assume. Who's better to do that than our customer experience and customer success team? They're actually the one welcoming our new clients, doing the kickoff meeting, onboarding them. They're the one working with them almost on a weekly basis because it's not just more of, hey, sign here, I'll see you in a year when we do renewal. It doesn't work this way, we know that. So they're actually living with them when they're experiencing our product platform, when they're maybe sometimes not happy with our product and platform, and they're trying to put them back on track. So they are, I believe right now, they should be the heart of the organization. That when we hear their pulse, we get this pulse and feed it back to the sales division and to the marketing division, and that's how the flywheel really works. You're absolutely right. This is one of the important critical divisions in any organization.
As we're going to wrap up this podcast, is there any one last thought for the leaders, aspiring leaders out there that you can give your advice on about team growth and GTM alignments?
Man, that would need another maybe
Continue.
one day.
Let's do it.
Just to share all my mistakes. But I think the one final advice I would say is, please remember you are human and you will make mistakes. And I would say that is okay. So you need to take care of yourself first, mentally, because we are passing through very harsh environments over the last 2 years, 2.5 years. And again, in future years, 2024, 2025, we're not sure exactly how the market trend. So remember one thing, you're human. And I think when you reflect and meditate on that, then you will quickly get reminded that your teams are humans too. Your customers are humans too. And I think that will be a foundational point that when you start communicating back with your teams or with your customers or with your board of directors, we're all humans at the end of the day. We have fears, we have beliefs, and we all want to win. So your mission, if you choose to accept it as a leader, which I think you did, that's why you're here in the forecast today, is to remember that you're human and you remember that you have to take small steps at a time, celebrate the small wins, and have growth mindset. Learn from your mistakes, reapply, communicate openly with your team. That's why I would recommend a book called Radical Candor, an amazing book. I applied it in different phases of my life, and it always does save me, especially during.
Thank you. I so actually I forgot to ask you a few more questions, and then maybe I'll cut it in. There is last week at GTM Partners Leadership Summit, there's one topic about comp plan, and Jacko said comp plan is all done wrong as we are measuring, and this is not really how we, because we try to talk about quotas and forecasts and all that. How do you address comp plan? Maybe say that.
Again, it will depend on the size of the
company.
organization. I'll be very transparent and very honest with you, right? First of all, I need to understand: are we speaking small business? Are we speaking mid market, or are we speaking enterprise? And are you a Series A, Series B, or a large public traded company? And then you go from there and say, okay, now what's my comp plan? Is it a 50-50? Is it a 30? Am I really setting up my team to succeed or simply challenging my team? So I'll give you two philosophies here. And I lived both lives. Right? So one comp plan is, by the way, we need to make sure our sales rep are hitting 120% year over year. So we're actually, listen to this, we're actually going to lower their quota. So they will be hitting 120%, they will be proud, they will feel good, and they will actually attract sellers like them. Bird of feather flock together. So if I want to attract successful sales leaders, I'm assuming they're the right sales leaders and the right sales reps. They have the will and they have the skill. So they will hit their numbers, they will get paid their bonuses, and they will be happy to the point that they will attract their friends who are also successful. Now my company is growing like crazy. That's one model. Other model is, and I'm not suggesting one is right and one is wrong, but I want you to hear from me like the philosophies in comp plan. The other model is, okay, let's say I need to achieve, let's say $1 million per rep. Okay, I will actually give them a quota of 1.1 million, because I know usually they will hit 80 to 90% of that number. And hey, when they hit the 100 mil, when they hit the 1 mil per rep, company achieve their goal. It's another philosophy. I will not critique both, but I would say some organizations are using that philosophy and they're winning. And by the way, their teams even are hitting 110, 120%. Other organizations are using the other one and winning. But I can tell you that I have seen also organizations using the first philosophy, but in down markets, it didn't happen. And reps also were leaving. So I apologize, I don't have a straightforward answer for you, but really it depends how mature is your sales organization, what's your market, what size of organization you're in, and then those are the two base models of philosophy that you can apply. The other thing I want you to think of is, don't just rely on comp plan. Rely on something called MBO, management by objectives. And those are extra bonuses that you can design on a quarterly basis. And you can divide it on your sales or marketing or customer experience team to ensure that those MBOs are tied to the OKR
agreed at the beginning
we spoke about, and that actually it's an insurance policy that the leaders will actually collaborate together and their teams will collaborate together as well. So compensation, strategy, and all those kind of things, it's a complex and sensitive conversation by itself, but if done properly, it can be really, really very. And there's a big difference between what's really happening in the market and what theory and books are telling us. Because again, the market is shifting like crazy. Even me and you are speaking right now. I promise you, there will be newer playbooks that will come out in January 2024 because of what we learned in 2023. So, but that's the reality of it. To be very transparent and very honest.
What do you see the 2024 trend? If you can give a little bit prediction and forecast.
I can summarize it with one thing and one thing only. Co-pilot. You will be in a co-pilot mode in 2024. Generative AI, cognitive AI, you will not do it like you cannot say AI is my savior. You will co-pilot with AI. You're testing the bow tie model versus the flywheel model. You will not enforce it, because if you enforce something blindly, you will break your organization. You will co-pilot that. You want to try new go-to-marketing playbooks, you have to co-pilot it first, because maybe it will not be successful in Q1, but it will be successful in Q2. So I would say 2024, to me, I can see it's a co-pilot year. We are stepping into new grounds. There's AI, machine learning that all vendors are speaking about. Our clients want us to get closer to them, yet we are saying AI will save us, even though AI can be a middle point that can distract this relationship. So if I'm a leader right now, this is my time to actually, everything that I learned before in my previous life, I put it on the side and I get an empty paper and pen and write down and just co-pilot things and really go back to a learning mode. What's working? What's not working? Especially in my own environment, in my own organization, and with my own clients. And then the main thing that I would say, the other thing beside Copilot, it's all about go-to-market. It's not anymore about sales, marketing, or customer success. It's all about go-to-market. And we heard it multiple times from multiple leaders. Maybe you have a go-to-market problem. You don't have a sales problem. You don't have a marketing problem. You don't have a product problem. You have a go-to-market problem, which then means that you really, as a leader, need to know how to play nice with other leaders, because go-to-market is at least 4 leaders working together: sales, marketing, customer success, and product. At least, if not more. So those are the 2 things, if I may leave the audience with, which is co-pilot and go-to-market. I think those are the 2 things that I will meditate on in 20 to get us to the next level.
Thank you so much for sharing that. This is amazing.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope the audience gets some nuggets out of it as well.
Thank you again. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Check out our LinkedIn and Slack group at From CS in Focus.